In the soil of California, real ganja farmer never be in a drought. High grade 707. Real ganja farmer never see no drought. I got clones rooting and seeds germinating.
I got organic soil and sun radiating.
I got smelly doja intoxicating.
I got sweat on my back from herb cultivating. Harvest is coming, I'm patiently waiting.
Finger hash trimming, we drying and hanging.
We got the fire, the buyers are waiting.
Drought season's over, there's no more complaining.
Ganja farmer.
In the soil
Ganja farmer.
of California,
Ganja farmer.
real ganja farmer never be in a drought.
And welcome to the Time for Hemp Network, where this is our very first run of our very first show. You are listening live to news from the front lines. I am your host, Joe Grumbine, and with me I have my co-hostesses. I have Kristen Floor from Washington, and I have Eugene Fischer from Florida. Why don't you say hi, both of you folks?
Hello, you guys.
Hi, guys. We're live with you.
All right. So this is our very first show on the Time for Hemp Network, and I want to first of all take a second to thank Casper Leach for giving us a shot at tapping this new network. This is a first for us. We're on a big international fancy network, so we're hoping to entertain and educate all of you. This is a little different from the other show we're doing, where we have lots of guests and we move really quickly. We're going to be taking 1 to 2 guests this show, and we're going to get a little bit more time to spend with them. So this show, we're hoping to get James Benno on the line, and he's actually up in Shasta County, California, out on bail as a result of the Human Solutions efforts, especially the local Shasta chapter. So for those of you who don't know, I am one of the founders of a group called the Human Solution. We're an international education and support advocacy group that is seconds away from its 501c3 federal status. Kristen Floor is my right hand in this organization. She helps in every possible way, and she's really taken the lead on the prison outreach element. And Eugene Fischer is sitting on our board, and he's one of the newest members of our organization, but he has quite a story to tell. Eugene has spent 25 years of his life behind bars in federal prison, and is free today because of sheer determination and unwillingness to give up. And we'll be talking a lot about his story as well. So Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself? This is a brand new audience, a brand new show, and I don't know that everybody in here knows who you are. So why don't we start by you telling us about yourself a little bit?
Well, you guys, my name is Kristen Floor. I'm a national leader for the Human Solution because I believe that nobody deserves to go to prison for our plant. I've seen a lot of bad things in this war, including my own father dying in federal custody, shackled to a hospital bed. And just the way he died was very tormenting and neglectful. And it's just never a way I want to see any of our other plant heroes leave this earth ever again. Eugene here, who's on the phone with us, we call him an ex-prisoner, some of us, but I call him a hero. And I am fighting for all of our heroes who are behind bars and locked up as we speak. And that's what leads me to the Human Solution and to work with these I'm very proud to work with this group because we actually make things happen. And we're trying to end Prohibition 2014. If it doesn't happen, then we're going to try to end Prohibition 2015 and so on and so on. But we are trying to aggressively try to tackle our biggest problems, and that's the fact that they shackle our caregivers, they torment our animals, they kill our pets, they take our kids to CPS, they do all kinds of nasty stuff to our families, and we just all want it to stop. And we're a national group in different countries now, so I'm very proud to be a part of this group and be able to talk to you guys here today. Nice to meet you.
All right. Well, that's quite a quite a rich background. And Kristen, I've known you for about a year and a half now, and I've never worked with anybody quite so dedicated and hardworking. And
I have to say the same thing for you, Joe. I don't think I've met anybody who works as hard at this as you do either. So
well, we got a pretty good team going on. So let's bring up Eugene, who's got experiences that I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through. But since you have, we can all gain strength and inspiration from. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Eugene?
Sure. My name is Eugene Fischer, and it's a privilege to be on this broadcast with my friends and colleagues, Joe and Christian. My story is a simple one. In 1988, I went to trial in Southern Illinois, and I got a life sentence for marijuana. I was a first-time offender. I had served my country, worked for the government, and I had been in private business in the shipping business. The accusation was some of my ships were used for the smuggling of marijuana from Colombia to the United States. I spent 25 years. I watched the prison system shoot up. From when I went in to the federal system, there were about 20,000 prisoners. When I left, there were 250,000. I was part of the group that got gray and old in prison. 25 years is a big portion of anyone's life. It was over a third of mine. I got out because I spent every day in the law library working, and I can only say it was a blessing of God to get me released. But there are many of my colleagues and friends are still in prison, and many of them are first-time offenders, and many of them are first-time offenders for marijuana. More than anything else in this life, I'd like to work, and I'm working with the Human Solution and with people like Joe and Christian to change the laws and to support our prisoners, support the people that are in prison. It's quite a thing to be incarcerated, especially at the maximum security level, which I was for a long period of time. And I'm just happy that we were able to broadcast and talk, and I look forward to this program we're starting out. Joe, Christian.
All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is we can sort of lay the grounds for what this show is going to be about, and this is really, Casper's been bugging me to do this show for about 6 months, and I kept telling him pretty soon. Finally, I says, all right, you know what, let's go. And I wasn't any more ready than I should have been, but I knew that once we committed and we got it started, we'll be able to build this into a tremendous show and possibly, take on more time slots as this grows. What I'd like to do with this is, the Human Solution is an organization that's across the country and into other countries. And there are stories from defendants, from prisoners, from ex-prisoners about really the front lines of this war on prohibition, this war on us. And I think that I'd like to use this show as an inspirational venue for bringing guests to be able to tell their stories. I know a number of defendants and ex-inmates, and who knows, maybe we could even figure out how to do what we've done on the other show and have inmates call directly to us. But I think that rather than doing a whole lot of updates and little stories, I think I want to get a little bit more in depth and reach down and start talking to about some of the plans and some of the actions that we do. We work with other organizations like FIJA, the Fully Informed Jury Association. I'd like to talk to Kirsten as a guest and be able to sit down and really get into some of our plans and be able to share the knowledge that we have about how to support each other with a goal of ending prohibition, and also how to support those that are victims. It's funny, I did a newspaper interview today for a newspaper in Michigan, and one of our chapters is doing a walk on a bridge walk. It's just it'll be like a march, and her name is Terry Marentet. She's one of our key players up in the Mid-Michigan chapter, and she's a great freedom fighter and a good friend. And she was talking to this newspaper reporter about our organization as a civil rights organization. And she really wanted this reporter to talk to me so I could clarify this a little bit. And it was interesting because I didn't know what point of view this reporter had. Sometimes they're very negative towards our efforts, and other times they're very receptive. But I just started to talk, and I just started to tell her about what we do and how we do it. And by the time I got about halfway through and talking about some of the inmates that are locked up in state and federal prisons, while following state laws many times, that's a huge civil rights issue. There's a amendment in our Constitution that was actually a result of our policy of slavery that says that all citizens are entitled to the equal protection of our laws. And at one point, certain members of our society were only considered to be 3/5 human. And so that was to break us out of that barbaric mindset that we could, treat another man less than he was. And we have this amendment that says every American citizen is entitled to equal protection of our laws. And certain states have passed laws that say its citizens are allowed access to cultivate, to distribute, to carry with them, and to medicate with this plant, the cannabis plant. And yet, even in the states, certain sheriffs, certain judges have said, no, not in my county, not in my city, not in my court. And I was one of the people that got locked up in such a way. And if that's not a civil rights violation, I don't know what is. And we look at the nature of our prison system today. Eugene's going to talk to us a lot about how our nation came from a country that had probably fewer prisons than many of the leading countries to we have the highest number of incarcerated citizens than any other country, far and away, more than China, more than Russia, more than any of the other countries that we would consider to be less than democratic or less than progressive, if you would say. And yet we're the ones that do all the locking up. And we're going to talk about how that happened, and we're going to talk about why this is not just a pot issue. This is not just a plant issue, but this is very much a civil rights issue. And it was funny because at the end of this, the reporter wanted to get very clear about our efforts, and she said to me, so pretty much your efforts as a civil rights organization are centered on pot, on cannabis. And I says, well, I can't call ourselves a race civil rights organization per se, because we're not specifically fighting for equality for any race or another. We're not specifically fighting for the gays. We're not specifically fighting for any specific target group. We're fighting for all of us. And that is the thing that makes it different. That's the thing that makes it different. We're a civil rights organization that is fighting for all of the rights of our American citizens to have not only the rights of the Constitution affords us of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but also of those laws that we've taken great effort and great pains to pass that grant us specific liberties. And, we have a big issue with the federal government, but this transfers all the way into state cases just as well. And so I think that's the nature of this organization. And when we got done, she was very happy. She said she's going to send me a copy of the story. And I think that if we can get our name out there as a civil rights organization that transcends just the cannabis, I think it's not only more accurate, but it's going to make us more capable as we move forward into this next mission with our 501c3. So we're going to be breaking in just in about a minute. So before we get going, I do have James Benno that's trying to get through here. And so we're going to figure this out on the break, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to him. But that's a story of the human solution rising up and taking care of business when business needed taken care of. And James Benno was a guy that was following California law to the T as best as he could, and he was cultivating his medical marijuana with the protection supposedly of our Prop 215 and SB 420. And he was raided, and his family, his two sons and him were taken into jail. His house was ransacked. All of not only his plants were taken, but they took everything. They took his soil that the plants were in. They took his tools. They took everything. They destroyed his house. I actually have a video that I'm working on with an article so people can see the effect that this has. So we're going to go ahead and go to a break, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get a hold of James when we come back.
Talk to you guys soon.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill. Relax and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Lyrics illuminate to keep the mind moving. Beat breaks, breaking the mold, keeping the neck broken. Hoping you will fulfill in the horns and stored the soul. Even refuse to remain soft spoken. Lyrics illuminate to keep the mind moving. Beat breaks, breaking the mold, keeping the neck broken. Hoping you will fulfill in the horns and stored the soul. Aggressive on the mic will remain soft spoken. I'm trying to break the musical mold and peek above the curve and swerve into a place where worthy words is observed. Hear truth fight the lies and synchronize minds. Gifted to bless the mic and the king at the same time. I hold the mic like a staff on behalf of the dark spots. Trying to sow seeds to rip weeds from the juggernauts. Twisted thoughts turn to tongue. Keep the mind sprung. Lungs collapse from the air unsung. I'll take a breath and release heat and proclaim the defeat and meet somewhere in the track between lyrics and the beat. I'm making the metronome move to the rhythm I dictate and create a way for secular heads for me to relate and find a spot in the underground and move within the music. God give us favors, so we pray that we don't lose it and manipulate music for the ministry and the same for the fame and receive the praise and refuse to give glory to the name. Lyrics illuminate to keep the mind moving. Beat breaks, breaking the mold, keeping the neck broken, open to fulfilling our hearts and stored this soul. Keeping a refuse to remain soft spoken. I spend my time writing tracks with the man with the alias. Deviants lean on the strength of Yahweh for sustaining us. Swinging punchlines, hitting them harder than bricks. Predestined to rip the mic, plus I'm reading the lyrics. Hoping truth is brought to the surface and exposed and respect those who chose to serve despite the ill flows. I know sometimes it's hard for we to keep the faith, so we pray spirit and flesh separate like church and state. We emphasize the critical, exercise the spiritual, vocalize habitual, utilize subliminal. Vocal tone stares and kicks and bass lines. Intertwine truth and rhyme to convince mankind. Get a grip on the mic, come equipped to kick the literate. Illustrate with picture words so y'all never forget it.
All right, and we are back on the Time for Hemp Network. This is News from the Front Lines with Joe Grumbine, Eugene Fischer, and Kristen Floor. We're still trying to get a hold of James Benno, and when we do, we'll bring him up as a guest. Well, I think what we should do is, well, we're waiting for the first guest. This is our first show. We're entitled to just sort of wander through it as we see fit. We have a big week coming up in front of us, and we were supposed to be doing support for the Kettle Falls 5, but that has been continued. So we're going to be spending a week. I'm going to be heading up to Spokane starting Sunday for the 5 days, and we're going to be working to build some new chapters, and we're actually going to be doing a jury nullification training. We're actually renting a spot. Why don't you tell us a little more about that, Kristen?
Well, actually, right now in Washington, the Human Solution Us and CJA and Poppy Sidhu, who's facing 30 years in prison, who's going to be going to trial soon, we put together a jury rights campaign throughout Washington. And it started back a couple months ago where we launched it at our march. Well, it's just continuing all the time. And this week, we're going to, in Spokane, we're going to be doing some jury outreach. We're going to be letting people know about their jury rights, and that, is your power to nullify the law if you think it's a bad law, or you don't think that the law should be applied in a particular case. You have a constitutional power that says you can say not guilty. And we're going to be explaining that in detail at the library that week. So anybody who's in Spokane would like to join for that, we'd really love to have you there. But even after that, this jury rights campaign just doesn't end in Washington. We're going to be doing a 3-day mini tour throughout Bellingham and Olympia, Seattle, and Spokane coming up on September 3rd, 5th, and 4th. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm really excited to see you in Spokane, Joe.
Well, my goal is Washington isn't that huge of a state, but currently we have two active chapters, and we need probably about 4 more to cover the state sufficiently.
Well, the reason why so many chapters is because we have 14 defendants right now that I know of that are facing trial soon in different cases all throughout the state, in the states that we call it legal in. So it's really important, especially in this state, that we grow.
Well, I think it's something to consider that, people think or thought, I don't know if they still do, but for the longest time, when I started talking to people in other states, and they say, well, where are you from? Oh, I'm from California. Oh, man, it must be great. You guys just can do anything you want. We were the first one. We broke the ground back in 1996, and we passed the Compassionate Use Act, and it allowed for patients that were qualified to get this medicine to grow it and distribute it amongst themselves. And you know what? The thing that happened once that law got passed, more people got thrown in jail than ever before. And the reason was that we, as the citizens and the patients, believed that this law protected us the way it was designed to. And the truth is, law enforcement and the judges and the prison system really didn't agree with that. And what they do, it's a funny thing. And people think all the time that, well, if somebody got busted, they must have been doing something. And, I talk about this all the time. They think, oh, well, you must have had something else. You must have been doing something outside the law. The truth is, no matter what you're doing, we just were in Prescott, Arizona earlier in the week, and a sweet lady named Star Bennett was arrested earlier in the year. And she had 3 little plants growing in her backyard, and she had a little bit of medical marijuana in her house, and her recommendation had expired, and she had trouble finding her records to get it renewed. So that was a mistake. But the truth was, she legitimately used this medicine. She never distributed it to anybody, and the entirety of the evidence fit inside of a 1-by-1 box. And wow. This was 3 little plants wrapped up in a burlap sack, mind you, and they all fit in this little teeny cardboard box. And this detective, or the sheriff's deputy, was this, I don't know, I think he was a queer bodybuilder. And that's nothing against queer bodybuilders, except for this guy had a bleach blonde mohawk, and he was kind of a musclehead looking guy, and he just took great joy in testifying in a way that caused Star Bennett to be convicted of all 3 counts. One was manufacturing a controlled substance, and that's those 3 little plants she had growing outside of her window, and possession of a controlled substance, which was about saw it, it couldn't have been a half an ounce of buds, and possession of paraphernalia, which was the rolling papers that she had. Those 3 charges, she was convicted in a bench trial in less than 2.5 hours. And now she's facing sentencing on August 11th. And she just put out an email message that I'm going to be putting out there as I get caught up on things. But she's going to require some letters written on her behalf. And I have a template for how these letters can go. One of the things that the Human Solution does in support is to write letters for people if they get sentenced. Now, it's funny because when I was going through my trial, I went through an 18-day trial and was convicted of 12 counts of sales of a controlled substance before we overturned it. We overturned it because of all the court support. We'll get to that story another time. But the point is, people were always asking me, well, I'll write a letter. I can't come out and do anything, but I'll write a letter. Well, there's only a few times when a letter actually can mean anything when it comes down to, you know, a defendant and being supportive. When you're facing your trial and pretrial and all the preliminary hearing and the motions and all of that, letters don't mean anything. There's not anything. The court doesn't care about your character. The court doesn't care about anything. This is only about setting up the trial and what's going to be allowed, what witnesses, and so forth. In the trial, again, people say, well, I'll testify for you as a good guy. I'll write a letter and submit that to the judge. Well, that has no value in a trial. It's the court doesn't care about that. The court is there to try the facts of the case. And unfortunately, in many cases, even state cases, as mine was an example, and Star Bennett's was an example, most of the facts of the case don't ever get to be seen, and especially not by a jury. But here's when it does matter. If in the worst case scenario somebody is convicted, there's a period of time, usually 2 to 4 weeks, before sentencing. And at the time of sentencing, the judge will, usually that's when, but just before sentencing, all the letters get submitted. Usually they get submitted to the defendant, who has their attorney review them to make sure that they're all appropriate. You don't want to do something to upset the judge that's going to determine the outcome of your sentence. And this is a time when that could happen. But this is a time where you talk about the character of the individual. You talk about the benefit to society they are, and the fact that they are not the kind of person that deserves a harsh sentence. And for Star Bennett, we traveled from Southern California to Prescott, Arizona, which is in the central north section of Arizona. And we did a lot of work to try to get support there, and we were fairly successful at that. And we pretty much filled the courtroom. And it was apparent from the second that everybody started walking in that the court noticed. Fortunately, everybody was pretty well behaved, and nobody got kicked out of the court. And at the end of the hearing, the judge convicted her without blinking. There was no thought. There was no consideration of anything. It was just, you're guilty on all counts. And then she moved forward to the sentencing phase, and she said this. She says, it's apparent that you have a lot of community support, and I will allow all of the people that come to the sentencing hearing to speak. And she looked at us and she said she will give all of us an opportunity to speak. And that's just one of the times where we're hoping that she doesn't end up doing any prison time. But unfortunately, this is Arizona, and our good friend Paula Huff had a very similar case, and she ended up getting 18 months in state prison. And she served 9 of those and just got out not that long ago. Paula's going to be an upcoming guest on a future show and talk about her story. Paula's a long way from being done.
Just real quick so I can adjust the audio.
Is this working now?
Oh, holy cow. Yes.
do we have ourselves a guest? You got about a minute to introduce yourself, and then we're going to have to go to a break. So is James Benno there?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, James. Well,
thank you.
Good job. I'm glad that you're able to get this together. We have about 2 minutes to introduce you, and then we go to a break, and then we'll finish out the show. So you'll still get a good 10 minutes to talk. We'll bring you up next show, and we got it all figured out a little bit better too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm James Benno. What do you want me to just tell what happened?
Just in about a minute, give us how you ended up here on this radio show from a guy. There we go. I can see you, but that's okay.
He's a farmer, not a felon. Yeah, he's a healer, not a dealer.
Yeah, I'm a farmer, and they raided my house, and I spent 2 months in jail almost, and got bailed out by the Human Solution and a few concerned citizens, and they put a hold on our bail and a bunch of stuff. So yeah, a bunch of dirty tricks. But today in court was good.
All right. Well, we've got about 10 more seconds, and we're gonna go to break. I'm looking forward to hearing about what happened in court and hearing about how we can move forward and knock this thing out of the park, because that's what we're here to do. You're not deserving of all the grief that you got, and you got a whole team that's going to do everything we can in our power to push this thing back to where not only are you going to walk free, get all your property back and the value of what they took, but maybe the sheriff will stop picking on people that don't need to be picked on.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I have with me Eugene Fischer and Kristen Floor, and we'll be asking you some questions. We'll walk through this, but I think it's time for our break right now.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill. Relax and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
That is so funny.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the front lines of the Human Solution. My name is Kristen. I'm a co-host on this radio television show today, along with my host, Grumbine, and another co-host today who's an extra special hero, Eugene Fischer. And we have somebody on the line who is one of our heroes. I don't know how long he's facing in prison, but him and his children are facing some time in prison, and they just actually got out of jail because of some good people in their town and a little help that the Human Solution offered to them. So we've got them coming on the line. Are you? Is everybody on here? Eugene, are you there?
I'm on here, Kristen. Yes.
Good, Eugene. James, are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
I'm here with James. Kristen, it's Marcia. How are you?
Hi, Marcia. How are you? I have a question for you, James. How much time are you facing in prison if you go to trial?
That's hard to say at this time, but suffice it to say, it's a lot.
Okay.
Well, it's a lot. It could be a really horrendous thing depending on what they did. But with nothing really having a lot of substance, we're not looking at it like that.
Okay, well, we have Eugene on the radio here, and he could serve 26 years.
It's at least that.
No, I don't think so, because see, they already offered me if I took a deal that I wouldn't do any jail time, and just like 3 years felony probation. But I'm not willing to take a deal and plead guilty to something I didn't do to get out of. Pleading guilty to a bunch of other stuff I didn't do. That's the deal. That's the deal they offer you. I mean, it's multiple felonies with enhancements.
Does that sound familiar, Eugene?
Well, I would be very careful, James, with the way they give you deals and so on. From experience, I've known that. They, in the final analysis, they say, but it's up to the judge to give the sentence out. So what the prosecutor does has limited finality to what the judge will actually do in the end. But James, I'm curious. You say you're a farmer. What were you busted? How were you busted?
Apparently they flew over in 2013 and saw a large grow, so they thought they'd just come kick my door in.
Wow.
And you were in compliance with the state laws?
Correct.
So this was a federal case they brought against you?
No, it's the county. It's the
county.
Eugene, it was similar to what they did to me. I was following the state laws as well.
I'm a little confused, James. What? How do they justify then trying you? What laws did they say you broke?
Quite a few. I had some gun charges. They said they were in the closet, but they say I was carrying a gun in the commission of a felony, possession for sale, cultivation felony, running a house for sales, oversized magazines for my AR, misuse of 911, conspiracy, manufacturing. I mean, the list goes on for infinitum.
Eugene, what they do sometimes is when they don't have a clear violation of the law, they make a bunch of stuff up. And what they do is they look at a situation and they say, well, if we just look at it this way, it will appear as though he wasn't following the law. And they ignore all kinds of things that prove that you were. And that's what they did to me as well. I had gone through a lot of trouble to follow the law, and they came after me with the same kind of vengeance that they did him and personal things.
Yeah, well, see, we have 3 people out here in Washington who follow the state laws as well, and the city of in Bellingham, they're going against them just because it's a federal law, and I believe that they feel that they can act on federal laws regardless of if the federal government is involved or not. Just because it's a contradiction, I believe that also gives the city a right to ignore their laws. Is that correct, Bill? Have you ever heard that?
Well, the state shouldn't be able to charge you under federal law. The state can only do it under state law.
Correct.
Yeah, but they like to reach out beyond their capabilities, and in a lot of cases, what they do is some of the officers that are involved in the raids are what they call dual sworn, and so they'll be a local sheriff, sworn deputy, but they may also be working on a task force under the auspices of the DEA. And what they do when they testify, they're acting in dual capacity. However, where the charges originate is what the law is at stake. If you got a state charges, the state law applies. If you have federal charges, the federal law applies. But they try to twist it by bringing in, agents that have both banners. It's pretty difficult. I see that in San Diego a lot as well.
We don't believe that's the case here.
I'm not facing any federal charges.
No. I guess the point wasn't that you were facing federal charges. It was that the state agents were acting as federal agents. They were basically they should have left you alone. When they came into your place, they should have looked around and said, oh, there's no reason for us to be here. And instead they didn't. They acted as though they were federal agents, and they continued with this raid. So
yeah, they took everything.
Exactly.
They even took my dirt and my pots.
I was mentioning that. Now, James, this is something I really want to get into, and we'll get into it more in future shows. But this is an attack on not only your property, but this was an attack on you personally and your family. And after going through all this, we're a long way from being done. We still have to raise a bunch of bail money for you. Your whole livelihood has been taken from you. Your family has been separated, locked up, and tell me, how are you dealing with this? This is the heart of the matter. You're going through a brutal experience that's nowhere near done.
No, it's crazy. I'm pretty much self-sufficient, but they stripped my livelihood. They took my ability to even replicate a plant. you know, and then I have people that are gonna like donate me plants, but I have to get it okayed by my attorney, and he's probably not gonna do it. I had a friend the other day drop off $200. He sent his wife over with $200. I'm like, I feel bad about taking his money, but he said that I'd do it for him. And then like today again, he was at my house bringing me a cell phone, a burner phone, and so he gave me $50 more for gas. I can't believe it. People are coming out and they're helping me through this.
Well, you helped a lot of people, James. You know, your work and your bravery and your courage and everything. That's why the whole community, he's the first case I know of that the mothers are coming for.
Well, you know, James, this is an interesting situation because we have defendants all over the country that come and ask for support. But yours was the first one that I ever saw that your whole community was reaching out. By the time your case came to me and people were talking to me personally about it, there was people rallying all around you. So this was a unique, I don't know, it was an instant karma almost where it was apparent quickly to me that this was a case that was worth putting in a substantial effort for. And I think that we're going to be out of time here in about a minute, but I just wanted to point out that, you know, there's a lot of different cases that come down the pike, and in some situations, I think they all deserve support, and some are easier to get it than others, but the work that you've done to help people, and, you know, I'm going to be careful about talking about specifics because your case is still live, and remember, anything that we do not only can but is used against us, so we're going to be cautious in talking about the specifics. But the point that I wanted to make was that you touched a lot of folks, and I've had people still continually approach me about that, and we're hoping to maintain the support and get you through, not only through the you know, continuing to pay your bail off, but to get you through the rest of your trial.
Thank you.
Joe, I'd like to make a point, if we have time, that about the basic decency of the American citizen, and which is being showed in this case of James. It's the laws that have gone astray, and our whole judicial system. We incarcerate more people than any other nation in the world.
In the world.
And it is atrocious, and we give longer sentences for nonviolent, many cases first-time offenders. We even give life sentences. That's a sentence where the person faces the possibility of never leaving prison for nonviolent offenses, and not just marijuana, but other types of offenses also. And it's atrocious. And that again, I'd like to emphasize that point. It's the basic American citizen. The basic American is a decent person, but we've let this whole thing get out of control, and what we've ended up with is an accelerated judicial system and prison system. When I went in the system, federal system, there was 20,000 prisoners. By the time I left, there was 250,000. I saw prisons develop up and down the East Coast. I'm from the East Coast of the United States. And I've seen, when I went in prison, there were 2 maximum security prisons in the federal system. I think there are over 13 at the moment. And it's just gotten so out of hand. And of course, part of the problem is that it's a local industry. So many local citizens now depend on jobs in these prisons at the expense, obviously, of the people who are going to prison. And it's a breakdown of society because it totally demolishes and debilitates families. I've seen, and I know, and my colleague Kristen Floor has seen it, where they'll take parents and kids and put them in prison. And even if your kids don't go to prison, I'll say this from personal experience. My children, I have 4 children, and my children did time with me, even though they weren't in prison.
Yeah.
And that's part of the horrible thing. I just wanted to make those points in the program before we sign off.
Well, we actually have about 7 minutes left. They gave us a full hour to run. We started a little late, but they're going to let us run a little bit late. Yeah. So before we finish up, I want to bring attention to a case that's out here in Orange County, and this is another troubling case. And my wife brought it to my attention that I should mention it. And she's right. This guy is. There were 2 defendants. One's named Jeff and one's named Scott. I can't remember their last names, but I know them. They're member or Scott's. Anyways, they had a case that started about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's a simple case. And what happened was one of them was willing to take a deal, the other one wasn't, and there were co-defendants, and so it made it an issue. When you have 2 defendants together, they have to both agree. Either both take the deal or neither takes the deal. They don't let you split it. And so this thing was going on, and the one guy was saying, "Look, I want to take it to trial." And he had picked up another little charge, so he would have violated his bail, and he would have ended up doing some real time. And these are all bogus, they're all pot charges. Anyways, just last week, the DA was unable to bring forth their witness, and because of some medical issue, and they pushed it until they couldn't push it anymore. The judge finally says, "Look, if you don't have your case, we're going to dismiss the charges." And so what happened was he had hired an attorney, Allison Margolin, and he paid her for this trial. Well, what's happened is they dismissed the charges and they turned around and refiled again. So now he has to come back and answer charges, only this time he doesn't have an attorney. So that first case is over. And his co-defendant was able to take the plea deal because now they're separated. And he's going to come back and answer charges, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday. And he lives up north. And he has to come down to Southern California every single time that he goes to court.
My up north or Oregon up north?
He's up in Northern California.
Okay.
And he's sick. He's got all kinds of health problems, and this case has stripped him down broke, and he doesn't know what to do. He's really lost. He already paid the lawyer $50,000, and now she wants another $35,000 for him to do this again. And so he's now going to be without a lawyer. And it's really tough. This is the punishment through the process. If they recharge him, they can hit him with a new bail, and he doesn't have any money for it. And the thing that sucks is we've got, I don't know how many cases, people trying to raise money for their legal defense. They're trying to raise money for their they're being able to support themselves. And James, you're one of them too. We got Jason Andrews trying to raise some money. We got, I can't tell you how many GoFundMe pages I see, and everybody's got their hand out needing some help. And, it takes a community to be able to really make this work. And luckily, James, you've got a community that's up there, and they're working hard to raise some money and holding events and keeping it important. But this is just one of these things that this war is, it's taken its toll in so many ways in so many places, and unfortunately, the weaker ones seem to suffer the most. The people that maybe deserve to be maybe passed over or to be looked on a little bit, lightly, they tend to take the brunt of this, and it's just really it just deepens my resolve to keep fighting until we end this thing once and for all. I just can't keep watching my friends get beat up and have their whole lives stripped away from them, and still watch them willing to fight, still watch them willing to stand tall. And just like you, James, and just like Scott and Jason and myself and so many others, this is a worthwhile battle. This is something that's worth fighting for. And, if you're listening, please step in and help in some way, shape, or form.
I'd like to end with a quote from John F. Kennedy that I think is very appropriate. John F. Kennedy said at one point, very elegantly, "The rights of all men are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened."
That's right. I couldn't say it better. It's I talk about it all the time. I say this is about all of us. I carried a sign one time that said, "I am Chris Williams," because Chris Williams was getting sentenced, and I'm James Steno, and I'm everybody that's going through this. And what was that? There was an unknown. I don't know who said it, but at first they came for the. It was
a Lutheran minister in Germany, in Nazi Germany.
There you go.
And he was facing death, and he said very elegantly, at first they came for the gypsies, and I said nothing. They came for the Jews, and I said nothing. They came for the priests, and I said nothing. And now there's no one left to say anything about it to defend me.
Exactly. And so, that's the message to everybody that is sitting back saying, I don't want to get involved. I don't want my name out there. You know what? If we don't all stand together and end this, it's just a matter of time. So I think we're going to end our first show on that note.
Can I end the show, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, if you guys would like to know more about the Human Solution, you can visit our website. It's www.thsintl.org. And I'd like to say a special goodbye today with saying rest in peace to some of our heroes who have died in custody in the United States of America, like my own father, Richard Floor, who died a very tormenting and neglectful death. I'd like to say rest in peace to Jack Hare, who educated us all about the plant before he passed. And, of course, I'd like to say rest in peace to Jerry Shepard, who died for our plant by taking 20 different gunshots to his poor body as he protected his plants. And I'd also like to say rest in peace to Peter McWilliams, who choked on his vomit serving a sentence for our plant. I'd also like to say we have 50 people serving life prison sentences in prison, in federal custody right now, who need help. So I'd like to say we need to end prohibition right now so they can return home to their families and so that our people who have passed can rest in peace. Thank you for listening to the show today. Have a good day.
All right, we'll see you next Monday, 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners. Good night.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.